All right. Well, now we're gonna jump into Scout versus June, and this is actually interesting because I actually think that these are just two people that the community just in particularly love. So I am curious to see if people actually be like specifically rooting for one or the other because I just think they're well liked players.
Yeah.
So kind of curious about that, and so that's what basically I'm saying is, chat. You have to pick one person and only root for them, and that's the person you get branded with forever.
I was actually going to say something similar. I want to see in chat who everyone is rooting for. I'm curious. I think it's going to be fairly split. So tell us in chat who you want to win this. And we'll find out who's going to get the early lead with I show Scout as wheels.
Yep, same.
Cool. Let's start it in 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
So Scout has been around. I actually don't remember when Scout first came in. Most of the stuff I remember early on from Scout was that they were in a lot of crew battles. And I think they even helped organize some of the crew battles early on. And then it's been more recent that they've done more competitions. I could be wrong about that. Where June basically was kind of a wunderkind on an early tournament. I can't remember which one. And then like just started playing more, and that they were like an Outer Wild speedrunner that came in. Kind of actually, this is just kind of like a thing. Speedrunners just come in every once in a while, and they're just more willing to grind a lot of the specifics in SpyParty because they're speedrunners.
That makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
And then they just do pretty well immediately, right?
Yeah. I haven't thought of that. That's a great point. But there's some overlap there. And Scout off to a great start. 51% flirt, into a fingerprint, into a contact. Doesn't pick up a highlight. Fires off the second flirt up to 85%. And pacing so far to be this deep into missions at 230 and not have a highlight is pretty good progress.
Yes, and so well, even though June is the speedrunner, Scout is getting some nice timings in on this. Does Scout and I even participate in the? I forget who. I know that Opie does it. Tabsies, I believe, does it. The people that do the actual like speed run in practice mode. We're not going to get all three in specs unless yeah, because like it's the one where like I forget what actually it's called, but like just the speed running and actually we barely
ending swap. That has to have been a misclick, right?
I don't know. It's such an interesting decision with the fact that we have this fingerprint already, but
or do we want to turn this into a little bit of a slight, a little bit of a delayed rush, not quite a rush, but yeah, because now we're in mission when countdown in a minute 35 versus finishing flirt and then having to nail down a second fingerprint. I think I would have preferred the fingerprint chase than the swap here, but it is a low light that grabs it. The swap goes off.
We're ready to dance. Oh no, we're using this as a thing to pick up briefcase. Oh, we haven't seen the swap yet. We haven't seen the swap yet.
We go for the difficult. Scout just styling, really. I mean, Scout just tried to get a 5th mission. They picked up a fingerprintable briefcase and missed it. So maybe just going for the 5-mission win.
I feel like the influence of Opie Rights is rubbing off too much. This feels like an Opie Rights game, honestly.
Yeah, it does. Very much
it is a little bit. I was also going to think, like, so sometimes people also like to use the picking up briefcase as a start of a dance because you bend down and you can pop up in a different spot. But Wheels doesn't really bend down that far. So, yeah, I agree that it's apparently just 5 missions.
Very interesting. I'm excited to see how this pans out. Are we going to see some, like, kind of mind game, mental attack here of, like, styling on the opponent to try and put pressure? I'm not sure. But we'll see how June responds. They're going to be playing as Alice, with gloves or ponytail. I don't know what people call Alice? What do you call Slappy?
I have called her Alice for years until I started using mnemonics more, and then Pony is just easier to remember. So I call her Ponytail.
All right. Starting as Ponytail in 3, 2, 1, play.
Pretty sure every single person in this cast knows about the story behind Alice, but Alice is the, or at least at the time, don't know if it still is, the partner of the animator and artist for SpyParty.
And modeled after that person, like, looks like them as well, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think actually, I think that Alice even wore the something that's very close to the outfit that is actually on Ponytail at this point. That might have been a thing after the fact. I can't remember, but I've seen a picture of the real person with the sort of get up that Ponytail's wearing.
Yeah, same. In the meantime, started out with I think it was a green microfilm at the blue bookcase, which is a fairly free one in the time of chaos. So it's really like, how are they going to get the other microfilm? that remains to be seen. And in the meantime, no flirt progress. It's very early to say that there's timing problems, but I'm a little bit concerned about this much idling. I'd like to see June working towards missions.
Yeah, and okay, I think we are gonna go in for a seduction target. It's kind of a loopy path, but there's a person there, so I don't think it's gonna matter because it's hard to tell whenever there's any other AI involved in the path. And I think that we were really looking around to see how the rest of the party was going. Like, at least something I appreciate about June when we were kind of just hanging out in the conversation was that she was really looking actively around. It would not be a terrible time to go for that microfilm, though.
Went for the reverse drive-by, and it's totally seen. June goes for it. Yeah, I would have liked to have just, I mean, maybe just like a bug and walk away, like, because you can make that a wrong arm bug. But yeah, that's a very dangerous reverse drive-by because you're perpendicular to the camera and you have no cover, right? Because Taft was your cover and he's leaving. But all said and done, because of like the brown sleeve and the black gloves against the background of the cabinet that's holding the, or shelving that's holding the statues, it isn't like super obvious. So I think actually a pretty good catch by Scout because I don't think it's super obvious to see there.
No, I agree that it's if you are looking straight at it, you're going to see it. But the fact that we caught it in our peripheral vision, if Smallman, if it was a different character than Smallman, because like the cover that you really need for that bug is either someone directly, right next to you so that your literal arm is covered, or you need someone cross conversation that blocks it, and Smallman's not going to do that job for you.
Sure is not. So I think we're tied up. Is that 1-1? No, it's 2-0 Scout.
Yep, yeah. Scout had a styling mission, wish them the
right.
mission win, and then June. Actually, I really wanted to see how June was going to play out the rest of that game, specifically how they're going to approach that microfilm. But
yeah,
obviously just got caught in the bug.
Unfortunate. Well, June with the opportunity to get a point here as sniper on Veranda. So we'll find out what happens in 3, 2, 1. Playing it. I think statistically, fairly sniper favored map here. I don't remember the numbers, but like pretty highly sniper favored.
Yes, and the big thing that differentiates players on this one is whether or not they really push for getting someone else shot, or they just kind of like whether or not they just do constant standard finishes because it's really scary to do anything else. And Scout is not one of those. I will say that straight up. Scout is not only rushing that book, but then getting the flirt after we dump the book in. That might have been half a step too greedy, but we'll see if actually we're just gonna rad time. All right, so Scout is just going all out in this set so far.
Yeah. Now that you've mentioned like the OP rights style possibly in the spy play here, I can't unsee it. Like this is all.
I'm telling you.
Progressive play. Yeah. This is great. I mean, this is working out great. So keep going. Keep doing it until it gets punished.
Yeah, and I think that I think Opie mentioned in chat that Scout was their duo partner in the recent team, so maybe there was some influence there. But also, Scout has always been kind of like more courageous in their play, and it maybe is just enough of the polish coming off with some training that it's really fluid. Because the thing is, I really like is we actually had great decision making about how we approached the flirt after dumping book at bookcase. Again, calculated risk, so it could have gone the other way, but we were very conscious about the decisions we were making in real time with doing stuff creep.
And we do, I think, have a fingerprint on that back statue, right? So we could pick up half a fingerprint and inspect, but we opt to go for the contact. Drink is being offered to Kane. Sniper's going for the lowlights. There are quite a few, but Sniper's mostly focused on the other side of the venue at the moment. I'd like to see Scout make a move for that fingerprintable statue, but ends up going for a different one and picks up a highlight along the way.
I was gonna say if Scout doesn't visit statues at all this game, that's strongly OP preference style play. Is that the same statue that Bowser is going to, or is that a second fingerprint going on over there?
It was that set. I don't know which. I think it is the other one, but I wasn't paying close enough attention. So there is 1 or 2 fingerprints back there.
I wonder if that's going to make it more or less suspicious for anybody to go back there and get fingerprint. I would say that fingerprint is usually I shouldn't say that without actually knowing the stats. Warning tracker know the stats. As far as like the mission win coalitions, usually have a linchpin running through fingerprint, and then often through like other things like banana bread's flirt, and then aside from those obvious ones, fingerprint I think is usually part of the coalition along with bug.
Yeah, that would not surprise me. I think fingerprint is extremely powerful, and I think a good way to level up your sniper play is to focus on fingerprint in all of the things that matter. You know, how long is someone waiting before they grab it? Are they grabbing the first fingerprint? How many briefcases are they getting them from? All of the different ways you can look at it, I think analyzing it from a sniper's perspective is a great way to level up your sniper gameplay.
Yes, and actually specifically, really like your point about briefcase, because that is one of the big things that differentiates out how spies. I think we might have been obligated for that briefcase. And speaking of which,
I think so.
How spies approach fingerprint, because either they're the types that file away fingerprints in the back of their mind, like Scout appears to, because this is actually the first statue that Ambassador left fingerprint on in this one, or if they reactively are like, it's time for a fingerprint, and then go to grab the briefcase.
And
we are going to do statue to statue.
Going for the kill. Yeah, this one should be difficult. I think Boots grabbed it previously. It is the difficult. We go for it, and we fail. At this point, June is watching for the swap. That would have been a beautiful finish if we nailed that green difficult fingerprint for the win. But we still have a good opportunity, 45 seconds to find a second fingerprint. I wonder if visiting both there, if June knows about one of the fingerprints now.
Yes. So now, exactly like you're saying, one of the problems is because we visited both fingerprints. If we remembered fingerprints being back there at all, we know that Red has gotten one of them. We might have thought that maybe Ambassador visited the other statue, and now we're just desperately hoping that Ambassador goes. So Ambassador is going to bounce out of this pretty soon. Where is Briefcase even?
I'm not sure. Scout's actually going for it. Is this fingerprintable? It is fingerprintable. We're going to grab it. I think just drop it. Don't return it. Don't be seen walking with a briefcase in overtime. I think you just drop it in that combo and stand in it and pretend you're there talking. Yeah.
Completely agreed. And I think, but it's like, okay.
Wait.
Shot too late for Zing?
That shot?
Shot too late for Zing?
Oh,
that
my.
Shot too late for Zing. I think that is still a spy win. I think it's only Gabriel tournaments that credit too late for Sing. We actually have, well, I guess Opie's in here, right? So I want to clarify if this is a spy or sniper win. I'm almost sure that too late for Sinks are spy wins still.
Yeah. Do you want to describe, in case anyone's new and doesn't know what happened, what too late for Sink shot is?
Yeah. So one of the computers is always designated as a host between the two, and it's always the spy. And so the spy's clock is actually the prime clock. I don't know what else to call it. The prime clock that the game is synced off of. So to try to make it lag tolerant as much as it can be. So if the sniper actually doesn't have 10 full seconds to react to the shot, they have 10 seconds minus however long that lag time is. So there's actually a little window of time that you need to be aware of as sniper that you can't wait for beeps. It's usually a second. Scout is Australian or New Zealand. I forget exactly where, but actually in particular, there might be an extra little bit of lag. Because what was that? That's like 2 seconds of too late for sync, right? Like almost, well, a second and a half, right? That's actually kind of a large window in there. I thought that shot was coming off in time because they shot at right before 0-0, right? They actually shot before OT would have started. So I think they did make the right technical decision because they didn't even wait for OT to shoot. So that actually is a bummer.
Yeah, and I'll be clarifying in chat that Summer Cup and Winter Cup run on the ruling of whatever the game says. So the spy ends up actually getting the win in that scenario.
Yeah, and that is the most common one. And I do think that it's like, it's just, it really is hard to overwrite what the game state tells you is a win or not. So it is messier. It's basically, I think if that attribute is ever going to change, it would require Checker to tell you, because it's real hard as just like an admin to say, like, I don't hate this. So There's been a couple of admins that are like, I hate this so much that I'm going to credit it. But it's just, in the client itself saying that the other person one is weird. So, but basically, this is just we're just gonna call it really unfortunate for June here. They made the right call. They could have shot just before, because they did actually shoot before 0-0 was fully done. It was barely before 0-0, so they could have shot at like they like you were saying, they didn't actually stand in the back. They could have shot as soon as they saw briefcase in the hand, which was like 3 seconds left, and they would have won. So June, if they were going to make that decision, may have needed to just shoot quicker because they had been walking for a few seconds with briefcase. Incidentally, I agree with you. I think they should have put that briefcase down, because then they could have at least like wiggled back and forth and made it hard for them to shoot, because they have to rotate around. But yeah,
I don't even think that Oprah would have been noticed or even safety off if they had just dropped the briefcase and just stood in the convo. I think with that much pressure, the sniper isn't watching for that level of detail. There's who's swapping, who's purloin, who's bugging. You know what I mean? But when you hear it and you see someone walking with briefcase and nobody else is doing one of those other things, or you don't have a suspect, it's like, shit, I have to shoot someone really fast. Someone holding a briefcase is a good gamble.
Yeah. And also, this is also speaking to the amount of timing. So like, people generally know if you are finishing inspects, especially if you have at least like 2 inspects at a statue, they pretty much know they have until you put it down that they need to shoot you. With fingerprint, if they are fingerprinting immediately after picking it up, they are going to be standing still, and then you need to be counting from when they started walking, right? So they almost always, spies wait until they're done with fingerprint to start walking. It's just because they're trying to maximize action tests, or just kind of like confirm that it went off. So you have to actually count from when they've been walking as far as the 10-second timer. And tough game. To get to that point, Scout had to do a lot of early activity.
Oh yeah, great spy game overall. Like,
indeed,
good play. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what happens. We've got June stepping in as salmon in 3, 2, 1. Playing it. I was also going to say, Checker, when do we just get dedicated servers?
It's true. I'm actually Checker hates netcode. That much I know. So I don't know if that makes it harder or easier to do netcode in, but yeah, it's I would say there's like a bandwidth, not the right word. There's a window that the game is lag tolerant, and then it stops being lag tolerant. This is actually, the rest of the gameplay has felt like it's pretty lag tolerant, given that Scout's in New Zealand. But if they get to a certain other window, they're sliding, it's just awful. And like all this, it's just like, at that point, it's, to me, just unplayable once they're sliding. So SpyParty's in this interesting window of being not the worst lag tolerant game, but there are certain things that you miss out of. 1, too late for sinks, and then 2, sliding is fine, so there's enough lag.
I think overall the game is actually really, really good at handling lag compared to like a lot of other like shooters or something. Like I think it's actually, and the too late for sync thing that we observed is like very rare. I've only seen that in competitive play like a couple times ever.
Yeah, and especially when it's like exactly at 0. Like June was 2/100ths, I think, of a second before OT. So June actually, I think, was trying to time it perfectly to 0-0, to doing the this is my confirmed overtube. Ooh. So from the spy perspective, awful bug. From the sniper perspective, the sniper is actually decent. It's just because of the angle.
Were they parallel to it?
Yeah,
they were like parallel.
So
yeah, no shot.
Yeah, no shot. We have this book. Let's see. So we have 1 set of early inspects. So this highlight could just be kind of a rote highlight. We also salmon. So we have the potential for a swap block. So if we transfer this, we have the potential for a swap block on. I guess we'd have to go on the far statues if we wanted to actually block, which is one of the downsides of inspecting those back statues first.
It feels like deja vu from the other set that we casted, because we have like a high-lit salmon, and I feel like the sniper's keeping them like focused, like secretly focused. It just feels like that other match. Yeah, I don't know. They're high-lit. Do you think that they're actually high on the suspicion list, or do you think it's a rote highlight? We're going to get the contact Not much from it. Ambassador comes next to us, which would have been a great time to get a bug, but we already have it, so we're kind of just near the Ambassador. Watching for the bug now. May have noticed the book, so now we know that Salmon couldn't have bugged.
I think we're if I was just kind of thinking along the lines of my sniping, I think we're actually in a lot of trouble here because the other SDAs I don't think we're in conversation, and because regardless of whether or not we were actually even suspicious of Salmon ahead of time, Salmon was the only person that was very obviously a highlight in conversation with real double agent, I believe, at the time of Banana Bread, and you can't miss him. He was in the middle of the venue, tall, obviously in a conversation with DA. All right, and there we go. We have the transfer, and we again do wait for them to put the book back in just for a little bit of timing. So not sure if it was that we don't know where that book came from and shot, or if we actually know for certain that that was a transfer.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I had a feeling that Salmon actually really June needed to put that back in green, because if we think back to the bug, I'm sure that Scout at least saw that Salmon walked near the Amba. Whether or not the bug happened, you can spectate on. But like anytime the Amba's in danger, I'm sure that they noticed. So Scout probably noticed that June walked by the red bookcase and didn't take a book, and then went to green. And you're probably watching that character for slightly after. And then June did the contact with the Amba standing next to them, and Scout zoomed in on it to see if there was something in their hand, to see if they should then credit the bug to June during that contact time with the Amba next to them. Sees the book and goes, "Oh yeah, that's probably the green book from before." So I think going into red, they got shot for it, and I think that putting it back into green, we probably needed to have done.
Yeah, indeed. I think that when we took that Banana Bread, there had to be a lot more people that would all of a sudden start drawing attention away from us, because that very interesting level of gameplay is basically only available to snipers if they have enough time to consider, right? If there's if we're worried about, I don't know, at that same time, actually really there was not that much action going on in the party, but like let's say there's someone at statues and they feel like they have to watch swap because it's 47 seconds left in the game or something like that. They might not have the bandwidth to think about those other things like having the book in your hand. So, but long story short, good shot by Scout. And maybe just a little bit of unfortunate implications from that Banana Bread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good sniping by Scout, and good gameplay so far. So Scout's going to be stepping in as Oprah on High Rise with a 4-0 lead. So we'll see if they can continue it in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And as we love to say, very sweepable map. I guess obviously from if Scout sweeps this map, it's going to be at least a 6. It would be really difficult to come back from. It's going to be at least a tie. But not only that, this is probably one of the better opportunities from here out in the rest of the set to take 2 games in a row and start making your comeback. And once again, Smallman ST, very classic on High Rise. Matter of fact, even to the point where there should probably be additional suspicion on Smallman, in particular for High Rise. You get the contact off. It looks like there's only 1 out of conversation circle. So everybody but Alice not only has real, but I guess Alice should be low lit. That's the only thing that should be out of that.
And pacing's not terrible. 2.5 minutes, contact down 34% on the flirt. Hanging out in the front conversation. And we've got transfer and microfilm off.
Yeah, and I think that, I guess so the main choice that spies make now is between Purloin or Fingerprint. And like how they're putting their coalition of missions together. The nice thing so now that we have swap and microfilm in there, with Purloin in particular, you can really try to maximize moments of divided attention. We fingerprint this book, by the way.
Looks like that's going to be our 3rd mission that we're investing in.
Yeah, and Ambassador does actually leave a decent amount of fingerprints on High Rise. The conversation circles are usually full of people. They'll get bounced out of conversation a lot. There's a lot of objects for them to go around and leave fingerprints on. They're just moving a lot. So, I
like
agree
a drink.
Like a drink. Oh yeah. So this is actually a big moment here, is whether or not Scout is going to be going for this after, especially after this
Request.
first reject.
Yeah, request Toby over is going to go for the drink, and ends up taking it, which I think is a good play. There could be an argument of like rejecting a fingerprintable drink loses you suspicion, but I don't think Scout has enough of it to actually warrant a play like that. I think they're doing fine of just grabbing it and now wrapping up a flirt. But 1:05 is actually a little bit scary for only 34% flirt. Scout's going to have to leave and join Smallman, and probably shouldn't timer flirt it. I think they're going to have to flirt, leave, and come back.
Yeah, agreed. Especially with how we're setting up at this one. We're really hoping for the green. Okay, so nice. We get a green, which means that the last one... Oh, and it's just... I was actually going to mention this. Something weird about this game for us is that Smallman was moving around a ton this game. It's actually one of the reasons we couldn't get flirts in on them. But on the flip side, the fact that you can't get your flirts in because your ST is so active, sometimes that means they just get shot. And so... Did it happen in the last set too? There was just Smallman got shot? I think that happened, yeah. Yeah. Smallman was our ST, got shot because they were out there doing stuff.
Yeah. In this case, he actually completed fingerprint like we did. He got 2 briefcases. So it's the kind of thing where you sort of wonder, would the spy go for 2 briefcases? As Smallman?
As Smallman on high? Yeah. No, you just low. The play is to just low light Smallman on high rise.
No one actually will play. Never Smallman. Yeah.
Yeah, I would never do it.
But maybe it's so ridiculous the spy would do it.
The Smallman thing. All right, so maybe it's showing me. But this is what I do on every map: is Smallman feels like you slow flirt, get a decent banana bread, and then you see if you just need to go for like a desperation in the back of the corner bug or purloin or something. You're probably not doing the because basically, if you go out and do the center inspects or double fingerprints. Not only are you Smallman, you're using the worst aspects of Smallman, which is your notoriety, and not at all of any of your best aspects, which is your invisibility. You're doing very visible, very trackable missions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right,
looks like June's going to play Sorry, though, or Orange Dress. So we'll see if they can maybe mount a comeback here, playing behind, I think, 0-5 in 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
And just after I was like, maybe start not making Smallman your seduction target. Smallman's SDA. So June is not going to have a repeat, unfortunately, of the fortune on the 2 other Smallman shots we've seen today.
Yeah, starting out at books, microfilm is off, so we're just doing a bit of idling, probably waiting for our seduction target to settle in, eyeing up the party. And we do go for the what do we even call that?
A double walking bug, probably, but
walking bug is together. It's like against each other. Yeah, that one almost never. I don't know if I've ever seen that one work. So we go for it, and we do pick up the highlight. And I loved the manner in which Scout did the highlight. It was one of those kind of secret ones where we just let the spy walk past our laser, and we highlight as we do it. So June likely doesn't know that they're highlight.
Yes, and also yes on the fact that we might have gotten a hint there as June. We were starting to get checked for swap. The only reason we should be being checked for swap, well, actually we wouldn't be done with inspect there. So actually never mind. I would say is because we actually could be finishing missions if we got that bug and we were inspect swapping, but actually we wouldn't need to inspect there. So there's just a ton of suspicion putting on that because there's actually not a reason for us to watch to see if it changes in our hands unless I miss someone else being there. Unless you're ultra suspicious of this person being the spy, which of course they are because they were willing to do the low-key highlight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, June is probably a dead spy walking unless one of the AI end up completing, which on high rise is a strong possibility. We do gulp the drink, so I'm wondering if Scout actually watched that. Laser's flicking around a bit.
And it's interesting that we gulp the drink because there's no purloin. So the only reason we would want to gulp drink is if we were, one, heading to statues, but probably more likely that we wanted to free that hand up for a bug on Ambassador's way out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, we haven't gotten a single flirt done at all. And the other problem we're having is we actually look like we have been flirting, though. We've been in conversation a lot. We've talked a few times. and we're not gonna have the benefit of not being credited this flirt.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at a minute left and you don't have a mission done, you might have to just start going for some frame options. But we are going to grab a 51% flirt at the windows with general into a green time ad. Is there a fingerprint on these blue books? There is. We'll grab our first fingerprint, and we're going to get shot for it. Wow.
Yeah, I'm curious at what level of that shot was it? Was it for the fingerprint? Was it for the time ad? Was it just for, all right, I'm pretty sure I saw that bug, and it's just no one else has done anything to catch my attention. Not sure, but
I think a little bit of all. I think it was like noticed, fairly certain on the bug attempt into grabbing a fingerprint, and I don't think it cooked that long either, right? Yeah, the Amba had just left. And the path was a little bit weird onto the pad. It wasn't a straight shot. It was like a kind of like a 90-degree turn. So I think early bug suspicion, maybe the time ad noticed, and then into the like, let me immediately grab a fingerprint.
Agreed. And actually, that bug is one of the ones where I agree that it's really hard for you to do the bug where you are walking in opposite directions from the ambassador, and for that to stick, you probably need both a slow ambassador and a slow character and something else to bend that path. So this is maybe the other shots by Scout have been generally solid on June, who have not made mistakes. That might be the only one where we just kind of went in a little over our head and maybe made a mistake there. Basically, I'm saying is it's 0-6. June's been playing well. Scout's just been playing extremely well, especially on Spy. And then actually that was a great sniper game.
Yeah. Yeah, Scout has just been playing like really well this whole time. It's not that June is playing poorly. Like Scout, I think has leveled up a good bit too. So we're gonna look at I think we're looking at the bug on stream really quick from the sniper side. You can see the fingers of Sorry here kind of finish and flash for a moment, and I think that's really the only part of it that you can see, but also the most telling part. So fairly obvious from the sniper side if you're looking for it, and with them being near the Amba, the sniper probably was. So next we're going to have Scout playing Sorry on Aquarium, match point in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
And we are Sorry, which is one of the more difficult characters to do a shark walk with, but a great character to do a shark bug with. So you just very smooth and very, like, their arms don't swing out very much, so if you're able to just go across conversation, bug, and then come back to where you stood, it's kind of tricky to catch the fact that they were there doing anything at all.
Yeah, and I think, personally, easier to control the slower characters and be a bit more precise with where your character is going to land, which you want to do when you take one of those shark bugs. You want to be standing in the exact spot that you left from so that they can't tell that you had ever moved. So a good character for it, and it'll be interesting if Scout actually does that, and that was the reason he picked, or if it was just random.
Really love that point about getting back into the micro of going where your character left from. I'm going to steal that analysis someday, because I think that's something I very seldomly think about, is like, how easy is it for that character to go back to where they started? Because I wish to go, okay, get across and then get back vaguely where you were, and then the fine-tune control about the circle that you're on. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think that's when you start playing, like in Opie, Aligorv, and some of these other players, like, we all know about the shark bug, so that's what you start looking for. Like, are they in a slightly different spot? Did they go for it?
We fire off a BB. We are in the only conversation with Real, so we might get a bunch of highlights coming off here. It looks like no highlights, but it looks like we did notice, at least, that this is... Oh, and now we do a very subtle, what's it called, a highlight on us here. We also might be credited for this bug. The end of the shark was up towards us.
Direct take on the purloin. I wonder if that was on purpose. Yeah, looking like one of the others sent. And the lowlights begin for the purloin here.
Yeah, so it would have been... I actually don't remember who would have
those
sent
were
it
fake.
So
really interesting thing just happened at about the 2-minute mark, which we might want to look at in the replay. June just did fake lowlights on all of the other highlights. So I don't think, therefore, that Scout is the top suspect. I think that they think it's one of the other people that sent Scout.
Gotcha. And it sounds like the actual... If June is paying enough attention about who actually would have sent, it sounds like it would have been Wheels, because we did a banana bread into send, and because of that forenoticing of... we would have been looking at that conversation. Oh, it would go for a conversation bug. that seems like it would have been completely off camera, and that it's going to be behavioral only if it's going to be credited at all.
Scout is very scary. This is like such good gameplay this entire set. Even this spy game is good here. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more idle. I think Scout's risking it by like minute 10 and you got to get one flirt. Like play it cool for like 30 seconds and then just finish with a flirt.
Yeah, and so we'll have this one flirt left, and looking at the number of highlights, tall task to getting shot here.
Yeah, definitely don't talk for like 15 seconds here. Like wait until it's your turn to talk almost.
Right. And
yeah.
There.
Yeah.
All right. You yeah. So I think you nailed it, because okay. So one is okay. I'm just gonna focus in on the fact that all of this happened at this conversation. So the banana bread happened here, and this is the main conversation that we're considering at all, because it's the only conversation with a double agent in it. Then we move on Wheels, because Wheels is the one with the drink in this conversation, and try to frame on the purloin. But because we know that we started and ended in this conversation, our ST is somewhere in here. So we don't even have to get paired with Duke for the end of this thing, because we could have been actually finishing flirt with Wheels or Smallman, because they are all still there at the end of the game. So that was just a rich conversation for seduction suspicion. And I mean, we might even got shot if we waited longer, but the fact that Scout has been generally playing pretty fast, the fact that we didn't was enough to push June over, and that's a great shot.
Yeah, great gameplay from both sides. And I'm not sure if you had checked it yet, Grosh, but like 208 game time is where I believe that June is going for some fake lowlights on the people in the bottom right conversation, like Queen, Wheels, and Duke. They had hit lowlit Seek, as well as some of the other people surrounding, and then I think did some fake lowlights. And I think that's where Sari had a really good opportunity to win, but I think that rush flirt at the end.
Yeah, I think a really interesting game. But just goes to show, like, we must have been June's primary suspect, just how quick that swing was after our talk.
Yeah.
So nicely done.
Indeed. The last thing I want to say about this one, though, is we only could have bugged for the last mission. And I really appreciate that Scout was going all in on the fact that for June to take that shot, June had to have seduced, contacted Purloin, obviously, because they're the one that took, and bugged. And so Scout narrowed in the potential window of other stuff we could have gotten shot in for. And it's basically, if you credit this bug at all, that's the only plausible extra reason you're shooting me, you could put me at the top of the list. Like if Scout talked in there, we might be top suspect for whatever we do the rest of the game, worried about bug swap, whatever fingerprint, anything else. But the fact that June was willing to shoot on 3 definitely seen missions, meaning obviously the banana bread, the purloin, and for sure the contact, is that we were willing to believe that Scout could have bugged in the
bug. Yeah. No, great shot. We'll see if Scout can close it out as sniper here. June stepping in as general in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, so stuff that always stands out with general is going to be the walking bug and the statue block. Statue block almost certainly going to be on the back 2 statues, and it actually is a pretty good statue block. It's because shark walking has become more of an attained skill by the community. I haven't seen as many back statue, just plain statue blocks that have nothing to do with shark.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think it's pretty powerful to start bringing it back into the meta.
All right. Well, there's going to be that the obvious what's it called, fingerprint being left in the back statues because briefcases. They're one of the ones that we should be able to tag as June and remember for later. Pretty good amount. Ooh. All right, there we go. So it's actually, I didn't even notice that we had delegated, because it's actually a decent amount of bar visitors. Not so many that it's obvious, but like, I don't even call it, there's probably a better term for this, but consistently a small stream of people visiting rather than a big clump of people visiting.
Right, it wasn't a bar rush, it was just people one after another, yeah.
Yeah, and that makes it more available.
Yeah, I think it's a good delegate. We're doing the classic, like, look at me, I'm at books. I couldn't have been involved in a drink thing. And the purloin doesn't take, it looks like. That's very unfortunate. I think just slightly late on that. In the meantime, we've picked up a microfilm out of the blue book.
Yes, completely agreed. And then, like, so, I mean, okay, the good and bad. Bad is that because there was a pretty decent... Oh, I think we're going to go for this bug. Oh, but... Oh, no! Well, hopefully we don't get credited at least. Hopefully Scout saw that Ambo was on the move and that General could not have bugged. But really unfortunate because I think we would have rather just had the bug, and even with maybe potential path credit. So that's 2 missions that we've attempted and not hit yet, which can throw spies for a huge loop. But they actually are done with seduce and have half a transfer, so at least there's a pretty obvious path out of this to at least 3 missions.
Has Scout been highlighting for single inspects or on completion?
I think only completion.
Okay. Kane just got highlight taking that statue that has the fingerprint, I believe. I wasn't sure if it was a finish or not. And then gets shot for it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so there's a back statue. That was the very first fingerprint.
One,
yeah. And did you grab another one? Okay, so wait, where was Shark going next? Shark had just gone from Shark was gonna go back over top, so it looked like maybe a setup for Shark walking after, right? So it not only was a fingerprint, but a potential swap into Shark walk.
Yeah, although Shark walk from top doesn't fully cover the character, so you don't have to shoot immediately unless you think that swap has happened and it's gonna be not enough time to shoot.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, Scout might be feeling a little bit of pressure now. Being this close to the victory, they need to really kind of focus in and just play solid and play patient. And they may feel a little rushed to close it out. So we'll see if June can. It's still possible for June to bring it back to a tie, starting out as Ponytail on Courtyard. If we're ready.
Yes.
In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
So it's Courtyard in particular because Courtyard games... ooh, we're going really deep in this conversation. I wasn't sure if we just should try to go for a bug. Q Martini shoots for that kind of stuff, I think. Does force Ambassador out really quickly, though, which is nice. Courtyard, when it appears in a spot where the ship... Okay, we're going to do a fake banana bread real quick. I actually don't... Yeah, if we don't actually get this bug off of this, I actually dislike this banana bread. That was actually... That knocked out 2, if not 3 inspectors.
We went for a reverse drive-by walking bug, and June was watching for it the whole time, but for just a brief second, they flicked over to Smallman to do the low light, and that is exactly when Scout went for it, so it actually went unseen, especially because June's camera was parallel up with Alice, and she kind of blends into her own costume, so it went unseen, but was like very much on camera. Unfortunately, it didn't stick.
Yeah, no, definitely, because like us not getting anything out of that fake banana bread is actually kind of a significant problem, because I don't think anybody's... Okay, here we go. First inspector that's back there. Having no inspects to watch, and actually even just having those highlights, or sorry, those lowlights, that's actually rough. I'll take that any day over giving credit. Because Courtyard Banana Bread, to me, is the easiest mission in any venue in the game. I think, well, maybe except for something on balcony, like either flirt or contact on balcony. But you can usually get really good banana breads on Courtyard and not have
banana bread.
Double fake. Yeah, these games are like either it's going to be really good or really bad, I think. Going with the double fake, but we do go for the time ad, which I like. We need it for sure.
Yes,
97% on seduce. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why we had a 48 on the first one, so we knew we were going to at least have banana flirts. We fake. Oh, here, okay, at least this one's real.
Yeah, finally real.
And so we knew that we needed the time, and that's going to be especially true with the fact that there's not that many suspects. I think, did we knock out Teal on that banana bread as well? That would be, I think we did. That's really unfortunate. That was the only other inspector that went in there. So now the only inspect is White. No, I don't even know if White actually has inspects. But Twin is the only other inspector. So we're in a group of 3 inspects. on, if at most, on this map currently, and we're gonna have a ton of suspicion on us.
Yeah, pretty rough. We do have good time on the clock. We're at 2 minutes. We snuck in another green time ad while Twin was performing their inspect. So, I mean, it's the standard Courtyard problem, right? Seduce, contact, inspect, sure. But what's your fourth mission?
It looks like, oh, I think we were really hoping that June was going to hang on the other side. Oh, actually, no, you're right. We're just going for a fingerprint.
Yeah, Scout really good at observing fingerprints that have been cooking for a long time, right? We saw that early in their gameplays as well.
The only thing is, I don't know if they've hit a difficult fingerprint yet. So I think that's like one of the lamest things to say, hey, you need to get better at action tests. Because your observation is supposed to be great.
Knowing is half the battle. First, you got to know they're there.
That's true. All right, so we are just going to do strict request. I have not been paying attention to see if there's rejects on this.
Yeah, I'm worried about this. I mean, you got to hit the green. We do hit the green, and now what sucks on Courtyard is like hitting the green, great. On most venues, you hit the green and then you just roll with it. I think you've got to find a way, in addition to the green, distracting the sniper, right? Because you can see, and it's green, and then
and I think you were picking up on exactly what I was thinking at the same time. We tried to introduce that distraction, and in a different way. Normally, your main method of distraction is banana bread, right? Your other method of distraction on Courtyard is being a swap threat, because it's something that the sniper doesn't have to shoot for, but does have to guard. And there's actually sometimes it's actually very threatening for all of a sudden that to happen. So good attempt by Scout there to try to draw attention away from the Purloin, because I think that they could tell that if the Purloin went off, they were top suspect, even though it did actually go to another inspector. Good attempt, but also good comeback by, or not comeback, good correct decision by June.
Yeah, let's see. So now Scout just has to hold on Courtyard, which is normally relatively easily, but we'll find out. So June with a lot of momentum here, stepping in as Irish in 3, 2, 1, playing it. That last scenario is like, to any seasoned player, is very common, right? As you're grinding out all of your games, that's a very common scenario that you run into, because it is that Courtyard problem of getting the fourth mission, and sometimes you hit a green swap or a green Purloin and you try to distract with the other one. And if you have a practice opponent and you both get very good at it, it stops really working. Like, neither of them really work, and you start having to find even more creative ways to finish out Courtyard. But that one is, I think, a good learning exercise, and it's not terrible, but I think an experienced sniper is going to nail it.
I think that this is actually, so you mentioned this on, I'm forgetting the other map that there was like a timing for. I think it was just, it was fingerprint, seduce, contact, inspect on some map. I can't remember which map it was. But getting used to the bread and butter of any particular map, like basically grinding out a particular map and be like, okay, this is the plurality, if not the majority, of spy mission win finishes appear in this form, right? There's actually this article called The Average Game of Balcony by Drawn, who tried to do this for one of the least decipherable maps in that sense, and said, like, this is how it usually looks. It usually looks like flirt, then flirt or BB, and then whatever one they didn't do, and then flirt. It's usually almost 3 flirts, just because they usually don't hit 2 greens. It's usually almost always banana bread in between the first and third flirt. And then it's, they might flirt once between their bubble.
Banana bread.
We get a contact. We're hovering on white whether or not to decide to give them the fake credit, but average contact. But grinding out the most common finishes on any given map and just getting like, okay, this on Courtyard, it's seduce, contact, inspect, and then they try to finish whatever that last thing is.
Yeah, it would almost be interesting if we had ways to easily train, like to just have a game state start at that point already, and then just grind out like that ending scenario. That would almost be a good training exercise, to be able to just start the game in those positions and just repeat it over and over.
Oh my god!
Did we swap?
No. We did, and it was an accident.
Right?
And actually, so what happened there was we hit a red inspect, and I was gonna say, oh my god, we're missing stuff. This is okay. Okay, so that's such a shame. Okay, we hit red inspect. which was a huge problem. Usually not a problem on Courtyard because, okay, that means we're going to have to 2-cycle. Big deal. But we had a fingerprint afterwards. So June was actually rushing because we picked up that statue needing to do the fingerprint. So the red inspect actually crunched us for time, where after we hit the second green, we were trying to immediately get the fingerprint so that we could get it before we put it down. But instead we misprioritize and get a swap instead. So it's so weird that it came down to the fact that we hit a red inspect, one of the least consequential action tests that you can think of as far as red, but then it just rushed us because you're trying to crunch in the fingerprint afterwards. That's such a bummer for June. I feel for them.
Yeah, that is unfortunate because they really had a lot of momentum to actually possibly make that comeback, but that unfortunate scenario ends up in Scout winning 7-3 on Courtyard. A very impressive showing by Scout overall. As you were kind of mentioning as we were getting started, that all of these players are at that point where they really have the potential to shoot up on kind of the leaderboard of top players. And I think Scout's if Scout keeps playing like this, I think they're gonna perform very well in their group and in the cup altogether.
Yeah, I'm still hung up on this because if we had been able to get that fingerprint, the shot came out more than 10 seconds after the swap. So let's say we accidentally swapped and then got the fingerprint, which would have been a 3-cycle. So it still would not have been good. The shot would have come off too late. I feel so bad because I was really curious what we were going to see after that because Jude actually was playing that out pretty well because I don't think we knew about the fingerprint there. So yeah, but again, it is not like Scout did not deserve that set though. Like you're saying, Scout came out so strong out of the gate. Props to June for not losing mental focus on that. And then just, unfortunately, that came down to a red test to at least continue the potential comeback, but strong showing.
Yeah, well, those were our games for the night. Thank you so much for casting this game, Screw Loose and Slappy. And thanks to Opie for organizing our Summer Cup yet again. If you enjoyed what you saw, you can, of course, join us on the SpyParty Discord for competitive SpyParty. You can find the game on Steam or at spyparty.com. Anything else you guys want to mention?
No, thanks for hosting. It was a pleasure hanging out with both of you and getting to watch these fun games.
Agreed. Just did it of that.
All right. Well, with that, hope everybody has a good one. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.